I'm going to talk a little bit today about the numerology of creation. I'm going to reserve the numbers part of that for the next teaching. But I want you to realize that all languages that are spoken in the earth have a numerical and a mathematical derivation to them. Hebrew and Sanskrit are probably the most spiritual of all languages. Hebrew is actually much more than a language. And as we are beginning to understand from Yana and from many of the other teachers that are mystics, bringing forth the teaching and understanding of the Hebrew letters being actual living beings in the heavenly realms. The word of God, it says, is living and active. Hebrew is read from left to right. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about how this numeric configuration in our language affects our science in our understanding of how things are taking place. I feel a little funny having Einstein behind me because I'm going to talk a little bit about Nikola Tesla, who was one of the foremost geniuses of our whole time, because his research was based on the frequencies of heaven without even knowing God, because he was a quantum theorist. He tapped in to some of the mysteries concerning the frequency, which also produced teaching on the electrotherapies and the electrotechnologies that are producing healing in the human body even today. This all relates to the Tower of Babel. As soon as God brought down the tower, which he did because they were self-exalting, trying to make themselves like God, as soon as God confused their dialects, we lost the unity of the technology of sound or frequency that allowed for personal edification of the multitudes of people through the unity of one speech. Now, instead of love and trust that could only be achieved through the unity of language, you have hatred and fear of those that are different, which takes place. As soon as people begin to speak in foreign tongues or different dialects, and as soon as they could no longer understand one another, you have the complete loss of the unity of the human species, which was evoked by the sound and the frequency contained in one language. Therefore, instead of speaking Hebrew, wherein the tones of the spoken word actually evoked a spiritual essence of the kingdom of heaven, the sound or the frequencies which delivered an understanding of the depths of his spirit. I have really good news for you. We're going to overcome the curse that ensued after the fall of the Tower of Babel. We're actually going to begin to migrate back into one language that evokes unity in the spirit. And that language is Hebrew. In the beginning, there was God, and him alone, who did what? He spoke life into sound. Now, in the word, we say, in the beginning, he said, let there be light. Actually, I don't know how to tell you this. He didn't speak in English. And he did not actually say, let there be light. What he did was he evoked a sound that produced light, and that's called the brooding sound. I go into great depth of that in the teaching on all creation groaning, so refer back to that teaching. Sound is an electromagnetic wave which causes the words that come out of my mouth to hit your ear and turn into a recognizable language. There are many different kinds of frequencies in the earth, though. We have radio frequency, TV frequency, computer frequency, sun frequency, light frequency, color frequency, sound frequency. All of these are electromagnetic frequencies. I don't know how to say this in any better words, so I'm just going to let it go. Everything that was ever created is created by frequency. Actually, the sound of God's brooding frequency over the earth is what produced and created all things. And inside of us, we have a depth of frequency that has not yet been released. At this time, the Lord is beginning to put down like an oil derrick inside of us, and to break up the fountains of the deep, because inside of us there are huge, vast, unplumbed reservoirs of living water, wells and fountains and geysers and waterfalls and unlimited amounts of creativity, a vastness of things that we have not yet had the capacity to tap into. But everything inside of us is going to be released through sound and through frequency. The Hebrew language always relays the spirit. So now when you take that language and you invert it by changing its sound into other languages, you not only pervert the sound, you also pervert the frequency, which brings the exchange of love and unity down into the basic the emotions of hatred and fear and anger. The higher the frequency, the more heavenly it is. The lower the frequency, the more base and the more carnal it becomes. You exchange the unity of spirit and thus further separate man from God, because the twisting of the sounds of heaven multiplies into numbers of global dialects. So there's a man whose name is David John Oates, who has done number studies of something called reverse speech. He has actually proven that the English language played backwards relays the truth of God. You see, our English language goes from right to left, but when you read it from left to right, it still contains the numerology of the frequencies of heaven. What would happen if we all begin to apply something called reverse speech to our own English language, and we begin to read left to right, instead of from right to left? One of the things that I consider to be interesting is what we would call the sickness of dyslexia. Actually, it's not a sickness. It's a spiritual condition, because part of the reason that people read from left to right so that they cannot understand what it is that they're reading is because they're tapping into a realm that is above the realm where we are presently operating. When we speak English as it is spoken today, we have actually been suppressing the sound of the soul inside of us. Inside of us, there's a spiritual being, and that spiritual being is just screaming to get out and to be heard and to be manifest in the earthly realm. Silently screaming internally, whoa, whoa. We want to release the sound of heaven and to celebrate our connection with the divine nature. Hi, I'm Nancy. I just want to thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed what you heard, like and subscribe our YouTube channel. And if you're interested in lengthy, deeper teachings concerning the mysteries of God, contact us at sons.global and partner with us as we become co-workers and co-creators together with God for the establishment of His kingdom and His righteousness in all the earth.